What is high functioning autism? This is parenting with Goalie. The difference between high functioning and low functioning could be described as no learning delay. High functioning autism means you struggle with executive functioning and social cues, but academically you're fine and cognitively you're aware. Low functioning autism is used to describe someone that has autism, but also probably some other conditions, some other issues that need to be addressed in process. Maybe this is a child that's nonverbal and also has an autism diagnosis. Now, this term isn't so popular anymore. It's probably dated back to the early 2000s. Nonetheless, a lot of people use it, so we're going to describe it here. When you have a kid with executive functioning challenges, they will struggle with generalized instructions. So you say, go get ready for bed. And even though they've done that 1,000 times, they don't really understand the instruction. So what a pro will do is they'll break it out into smaller chunks. Brush your teeth, put your pajamas on, and so on. And those instructions kids can follow totally fine. This is common not only for kids with an autism diagnosis, but also an ADHD diagnosis. On the Goalie tablet, we have our Copilot app. In Copilot, you create these routines for your kid. You give them a visual for each activity that they need to do in something like go get ready for bed. And we show them that visual. It could be a picture or a video. We show them a visual timer so that they can see when they need to do something. Kids with autism really struggle with the concept of time. Is it 5 minutes? Is it 15 minutes? If you show them visually, they progress forward nicely. So the Copilot app is really there to help you with all these daily living activities. Like I said earlier, kids with autism struggle with social skills, but what does that actually mean? Well, you could see in a few different ways. First, they might not understand facial expressions, and that's really how people communicate a lot of social skills. The second is they don't really understand social norms, and so those norms have to be explained. Now, let me give you an example of a social norm for a kid. You go to the playground and you want to ride the slide, and there's 5 other kids in line at the slide. Well, where do you go? Do you go to the front of the line? Do you go to the back of the line? Do you go up the slide, uphill, and then ride it down? Well, as a kid, you probably didn't just know that. You probably went to the front of the line because you wanted to ride the slide, and then you maybe got pushed to the ground by another kid. And then you learned, okay, there's a norm here. I go to the back of the line. A kid with autism needs to be taught that. They don't pick up on more subtle social cues, but if you explain to them why the social norm exists, they learn it really quickly. To teach all of these social skills, we have interactive video classes in our app called Goalmine. Kids watch a lesson, we explain why something's important to them, we model the behavior, and then we ask them to interact. And on your phone in the parent app, you can see exactly how they're doing all these things, how they're responding. You can also select which lessons you want them to watch. So if they're struggling more on the playground, you might turn off some of the other stuff and have them focus on the playground. If your kid has been described to you as having low functioning autism, then they need additional supports, and that's totally fine. In the Goalie suite, we have lots of different tools for lots of different issues. High functioning autism can sometimes be more challenging than low functioning autism because not a lot seems wrong. Your kid could be bright and excel in different things, but these certain topics they just really struggle with, and there's a lot of frustration that comes from that. In the past, people would call this Asperger's syndrome, where someone appears to be totally fine in the course of their daily life, but they struggle with certain issues, certain topics of social expression and interactions, maybe dating later in life, but they're not perceived as or labeled right away as this person is autistic. And that's why it can be perceived as more frustrating at times. If you're unsure, don't worry about the labels at all. Just focus on helping your kids with the things they're struggling with. And if Goalie can help, then great. It doesn't matter what their diagnosis is, what people call them or label it. Go to getgoalie.com and you can learn more about our tools.